Fen Walter's "Our Farm Becomes the Battlefield" opens with two sentences. What do you do when one man owns everything? You steal it, and you break his stuff. This ethos encapsulates everything this game aims for and achieves. Our Farm first asks players to imagine a world in which a powerful wizard used automated golems to monopolize the farming industry, and then asks them to obliterate the systems that allowed this monopoly to exist in the first place. Together with your group of players, you'll not only resist corporate domination by converting your farm machines into battle golems, but you'll try to support a cooperative community that values labor and resists the insidious nature of legalized violence. Fiercely anti-capitalist and enthusiastic in its vision of a better world, Our Farm is a wonderful addition to the Lumen library, one you should absolutely pick up if you're sick of billionaires. Our Farm takes place after an evil wizard named Tysanto created a legion of farming golems. These golems did all the work farmers normally had to do during the day while they slept, yielding high-quality produce with minimal effort. However, as these golems became the main tool to grow crops, farmers without these machines went out of business, only to have their land snapped up by the wizard. Soon, the majority of all farms in the world were owned by Tysanto, and in order to keep up with their lease agreements, farmers were forced into 16-hour sleep shifts to make any money. Thankfully, you and your group of independent farmers reverse-engineered Tysanto's golem technology and turned the wizard's weapons against him. However, because Tysanto's farms provide people with cheap and high-quality produce, you're fighting a battle on two fronts, one against Tysanto's monopoly and another against people uninterested in the labor conditions under which their food is made. I love Walter's framing of the world. It's clear he has strong feelings about the ways in which real-life farming monopolies, like perhaps Monsanto and Tyson, have turned American farmers into sharecroppers. Most damning of all, Our Farm encourages GMs to play Tysanto as someone who does not need to break the law to hurt and dominate others. His wealth allows him to steal and harass people in a completely legal manner, which makes him a far more insidious villain than one who sends armies out to conquer the world. Most endearing to me is the fact that Walters makes Tysanto's ideology explicit. As much as you can, when you're deciding what Tysanto might do, think like a billionaire. As a Lumen RPG, Our Farm uses a D6 system that has players roll a number of die and take the highest, with 1s and 2s being a complete failure, 3s and 4s being a success with a complication, and 5s and 6s being a total success. Since everything 3 and higher is at least somewhat successful, the player can regularly expect a favorable result 66% of the time, which fits the power fantasy Walters is going for. When complications and consequences go awry, the game encourages twists that are foreseeable and fair, ensuring players don't feel helpless in the face of bad die rolls, while still keeping a mission's stakes intact. These die rolls are funneled into 3 attributes, sow, thresh, and grind, which respectively allow a character to act with precision, speed, and power. Depending on your golem type, you can have extra weapons and abilities to shape the flow of an action scene, expending a limited resource called energy to guarantee the success of your moves. However, Our Farm prides itself on not having a traditional health system. Golems cannot be permanently destroyed, and players do not die unless they feel their time has come. Instead, the success or failure of a given action sequence hinges on the completion of a success or failure clock. These clocks are simply circles divided into 2, 4, 6, or 8 pieces. Whenever the players meaningfully move closer to their goals, one portion of the success clock is filled in, and similarly, setbacks will fill in a portion of the failure clock. When a success clock reaches 1/2 and 3/4 completion, a new event crops up to keep players on their toes, which I think is a brilliant way to ensure gameplay feels snappy and fluid. When either the success or failure clock is entirely filled, the scene ends, and consequences of the action play out. Most importantly, Walters specifies that clocks are descriptive and not prescriptive, meaning that the story you're telling is more important than the rolls you've made. When the clocks clash with what you feel the scene should actually feel like, you are encouraged to change the clocks. This combination of simple D6 mechanics and the constant momentum of a game where the GM never has to roll emphasizes that Walters isn't exaggerating when he says no prep is required to play. Our Farm's base gameplay is evidence not only of its smart design and trust in players, but of the flexibility of the Lumen system as a whole. When your team defeats the various minions of Tysanto, you receive traditional RPG rewards, but also some additional perks that go beyond improving your golem. After a mission loop is completed, your table decides whether it went very well, very badly, or just okay. If it went well, you receive 2 dice to further increase the potency of your golem. Conversely, if the mission was a disaster, subtract 2 die. And if the mission was fine, add 1 die and lose another. This may seem like a self-defeating progression model. Why have an upgrade mechanic at all if it's only going to balance itself out? That's where your farming cooperative comes in. The co-op also has stats: membership, surplus, and mindset, each of which receive die rolls at the end of a mission as well. These die rolls are largely weighted in the player's favor, with anything above a 2 providing advancements to your golem's energy, weapons, or powers. This smartly balances out the push and pull a golem's abilities might experience over the course of a standard game. By weighting cooperative rolls in favor of players, most of the time you'll feel like your little community is making things work against all odds. That's what I like most about our farm's incentive structure, is that while there are mechanical elements underlying the experience, they take their cues from the fiction of the game. You only power up or power down your golem when your table feels like it's earned based on the events of a particular story. And even when your missions skew catastrophic, our farm's cooperative rewards remind players of what they're fighting for, using roleplay beats and scenes to reflect the difficult work of living collaboratively, but more often than not, providing benefits for protecting that communal dream. If you're reading this, you're probably someone who's suffered under capitalism, forced to get an expensive degree, employed by a business that treats you like dirt, or at least once took a good hard look at your bank statement and lamented the sheer expense of being alive. If you want to feel like there's a better way, like you can bloody the nose of a monopoly that's ruined your community, you'll find a lot to like in Our Farm Becomes the Battlefield. Sure, fans of the mecha genre will love the cool robots, but I think this game gets at a much deeper anxiety. I've never in my life lived further than 15 minutes from a corn or soybean field. I'm the grandson of a farmer. Walter's rage against the abuses of both land and labor that allow our current food supply to exist reads as very authentic to me, and I can't help but empathize with the story he's telling. Walter's passion for the subject is so authentic that he offers free copies of the game to anyone willing to support small farmers in their own communities. That kind of genuine emotion is laudable, and I highly encourage you to both purchase Our Farm and try to shop local. And if you do pick up a copy, pay close attention to that introductory passage. It's not a battle cry, it's a prayer.